what's it is I, Hellgear, and this is my Beetrooper deck profile. Contrary to the pre-Photon Hypernova build, we got a lot more bug support with the most recent cards, and playing with this deck is pretty fun. So I want to show you guys the updated build before we get the Cyberstorm access. As always, remember to like, sub, and bell. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs, and leave your thoughts of this streamlined version of the deck in the comments section below. So, let's count the cards. As always, 2 copies of the Scout Buggy, locking you into bugs. When it's summoned, you can special summon another from deck or graveyard. 2 Scale Bombers. This is essentially your extender if you control an insect and can quick effect tribute a bug to blast an opponent when they activate a monster effect. 2 copies of our good friend Sting Lancer. He is the Beetrooper Spell and Trap Rhoda on summon, and can also be once per turn quick effect special summon by targeting an insect in your graveyard and a monster in your opponent's graveyard and shuffling them both into the deck. We have 1 copy of the Assault Roller. You really only need 1 of this card. You banish a bug to special summon it, and when it dies, it is a Beetrooper Rhoda. And of course, 1 Mighty Neptune. Now, a lot of people think that this is a brick because you can't normal summon or set it, and you have to first banish 3 of, well, shuffle 3 of your banished insect into the main deck to special summon it, but it does die on coming back. However, with the new bug support, it's a lot easier to bring this guy out, and I'll talk about that momentarily. Wrapping up our Beetroopers. Rest of the cards I'm playing in here, 2 copies of Dragon Bite. This is a tuner who, on normal summon, can special summon a level 4 or lower bug from your hand. It can also augment levels. And then there's Beargrim. Oh dear lord, this card is nuts. It can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by banishing 3 insect or plant monsters from your hand or graveyard once per turn this way. This thing is beastly. It literally retired the Doomdozer from your deck. It protects your spells and traps from your opponent's activated effects and can nuke the board of all non-insect or plant monsters at the cost of attacking your opponent this turn. 2 copies of Retaliating Sea. The die fight, if special summoned from your opponent's hand when they activate an card effect that special summons monsters, and if it dies, it can get you any earth insect monster with 1500 or less attack, including your Contact Sea, which can disrupt the opponent's extra deck plays. Your 2 copies of Resident Insect, which is the best bug in the entire deck. You already know how good that is. 2 copies of Infinite Antlion. This thing can actually blast 1 card you control and a card your opponent controls on battle. No phase. When your opponent attacks, you can special summon this card from your hand, and on summon, you can equip a bug to it that gives it 500 defense, which is a very important condition for one of our newest extra bug beatdowns. 1 Bio Insect Armor. I was testing this at 2, and while the second one comes up, it's just more efficient to have only 1 of this. It can equip to an insect you control from your hand or graveyard if you don't control a Bio Insect Armor, but when the monster that is equipped with this card is removed from the field, it is not only banished, as well as this insect being banished as well. Also gives you 1500 attack and defense during the battle phase and main phase 2 only. Another way of getting your condition met for you know who, which I'll talk about when we get to the extra deck. Some more singles that I run, a Scary Moth. Beetrooper decks like to end on summoning this. It's essentially the insect version of El Shaddai Winda. Quakimeru Beetle is the bane of light and dark decks, because when a non-link light or dark monster is special summoned to the field in attack position, this beetle automatically triggers, forcing that monster into defense. And since most of your bugs are earth or wind, you don't have to worry too much about that. And revealing a bug in your hand to keep it alive is no big deal. Goki Pole for the Goki Pole shenanigans. And Shiny Black Sea. Because Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds is gone, we don't need Girichin Kuwagata anymore. Spell game. We have our Terraforming, which looks up the giant ballpark. This can let us prevent damage from either player, and you can pitch a card. You can pitch a normal insect, which works very well with your Shiny Black Sea, getting it from the graveyard. And if you have extra Shiny Black Seas, you can special summon them. 2 copies of the giant ball game. This is your revive for your insects that are level 6 or lower in your graveyard. Or you can reveal an insect in your hand, then target an insect on your field and a monster your opponent controls whose attack is greater than, or is it greater than or less than? Okay, less than the attack of the revealed monster. Switch them, and the opponent's monster that you've switched to becomes an insect monster. Rather interesting effect, honestly. Thank you, Trap Trick Structure Deck, for giving us one of the coolest looking draw spells in Trap Tantalizing Tune. There are plenty of level 4 bugs that you can discard as cost for a pair of fresh draws, as well as some normal traps, which I will talk about once we get into the trap game. 2 copies of Beetrooper Descent. This gets us a bug token, and if you control an insect with 3,000 or more attack, you're clapping the back row on your opponent's field. Next up is our fusion engine. We got 2 of those. Y'all, Beetrooper Landing you'll probably take out for another copy of the giant ballpark field spell, but when we get the new card in Cyberstorm Access, you'll probably have this here. Ready Fusion is just 2 racks to pay to special summon Quagga Hercules from the extra deck, and Necrofusion can banish insects from your graveyard to fusion summon. 2 copies of Lair Wire. This is just my defensive trap. You can banish an insect to blast one of your opponent's monsters. Most Beetrooper decks don't play a lot of spells, so Anti-Spell Fragrance is still a very nice way to keep your board from getting hit with Lightning Storm. And a Fly and Sting to wrap up the main deck. Not a bad setup if you ask me. Extra deck time. I am still running 2 copies of the Absolute Hercules. He's in this deck. Why are you still running this card, Hellgear? It's a brick. In the extra deck. Because it's a 4,000 attack point bug that when fusion summon is unaffected by all other cards until the end of your next turn. So worst case scenario, your opponent has to deal with a 4,000 body that can't be banished by Kashtira or Mirror Jade, can't be bounced by Expertly Noir, and can't be nuked by Zeus for 2 turns. Best case scenario, you summon this bug and your opponent can't banish it, can't bounce it, can't nuke it for 3 turns. 2 of those turns belong to you. And then there's the ultimate great insect. You're never going to fusion summon this by its requirements. You're going to usually have an insect with 2000 defense equipped with an equip card, and there are multiple ways you can do this. Bio-insect armor, infinite antlion are just 2 examples. It can't be destroyed by battle, and once per turn, it has a quick effect that during the battle phase, if a field spell is in play, nukes all monsters your opponent controls. So in addition to Beargram's nuke, you have this nuke as well. Quagga Hercules for the ready fusion play. Next up, I have Diabolantis, the Menacing Mantis. This is just an interesting synchro monster that gets you foolish burial of insects equal to the number of non-tuner insects or materials used when you synchro summon it. So usually you can go into Dragon Bite, and then Dragon Bite can use its effect to normal summon like a Resonance Insect, and then you can tune the Dragonite and the Resonance Insect for this. Use its effect to send a card from deck to graveyard on Chainlink 1, while Chainlink 2 lets your Resonance Insect pop off. It can also take a monster that you control with its synchro summon and turn it into a tuner for the turn. One Battle Wasp Hama the Conquering Bow. I go into this every now and again. It can burn for time and lower your opponent's monster's 500 attack and defense when it inflicts battle damage. Another big bug with 3 racks of attack is Ballista the Armageddon. Funny thing, going into that Diabolantis pattern, if you do use the Resonance Insect, you can mill Gokipole, then Gokipole can get you the effect to get your Shiny Sea Squadron as a special summon and a clap of one of your opponent's monsters. Then Diabolantis can make Shiny Sea a tuner, which is a 4, plus these 8 gets you the 12 needed for your Ballista the Armageddon. It deals piercing damage, it banishes all of your bugs in the graveyard, and when it dies, you get 3 of your banished level 11 or lower bugs back to the field. Cicada King is just a walking, talking negate. Shinobi Insect Hakuragamo is what you link into when your opponent gives you the 3-rack Space Rock Nibiru token. Pika Felina is another way you can equip an insect you control with another bug, like your Resonance Insect, giving you the 500 defense. 2 Armor Horns, which can get you an additional normal summon on Link Summon, and banishes 3 insects to special summon it from the graveyard while it's banished when leaving the field. We have our Seraphim Papillion, which will either get you counters for the insects it's used for its Link Summon, or special summon a level 4 insect monster from your graveyard in defense at the cost of removing a counter. And then we got the big bad Invincible Atlas, which, yeah, can get just super, super big. Funny thing about this deck is, if you have the right cards, you can OTK rather nicely. For example, let's say you have Necrofusion, you have our Field Spell, which is our Giant Ballpark, which I'm going to grab real quick. a Scout Buggy, a card to discard, and then Ready Fusion. You can literally end games with these 3 cards, and you have Necrofusion as a little bit of insurance. Let me show you this, what I mean, real quick. So what you can do on your play is you can activate your Ready Fusion. This will get you your Quagga Hercules on the field. I want you to keep the note at one thing because this is important. Quagga Hercules has 1700 defense at base. So you can activate your field spell. Now, you'll normal summon your Scout Buggy. That'll get you your other Scout Buggy. Let me just grab this really fast. That can special summon your other Scout Buggy. You can link your Scout Buggies away for Pika Felina. Now, you can use your discard, whatever this card is, as a discard because of Pika Felina right here, and you can equip your Resonance Insect to Quagga Hercules. And because of Pika Felina's effect, it gives Quagga Hercules 500 extra defense, bringing its defense to 2200. Now, because you've met the requirements, you contribute these guys, and you can pull out the big, bad, ultimate great insect. That's just going to be nothing but chaos for your opponent. Your Resonance Insect pops off, so you can get a level 5 or higher insect, which is going to be the man of the hour right here, Beargrim, Silver Sheller, or Shelled Emperor of the Forest Crown. Now you can banish 3 insects, so Resonance Insect, and then your 2 Scout Buggies, to special summon this guy. Now, it should be noted that once Beargrim hits the field, that's your 5th special summon. So if your opponent hits you with Nibiru, you can set your Necrofusion, and then you have Quagga Hercules, Pika Felina, and these 2 on your opponent's turn, and you can fusion summon into our good friend Absolute Hercules, and they have to deal with it. But if they don't banish, if they don't hit you with the crack rock of name Nibiru, you're going to have the Resonance Insect's banish effect go off. So with that effect, you'll send your Goki Pole. Where is my Goki Pole? You'll send your Goki Pole to the grave. And when Goki Pole is sent to the grave, you'll be adding your Shining Black Sea off of that. You'll special summon your Shiny Black Sea. You'll blast the monster with 2000 or more attack. Then you enter battle. When you enter battle, you'll use the Great Ultimate Insects effect, because Giant Ballpark is in play, to nuke your opponent's monsters. Then you swing 3400, 6400, and Shiny Black Sea totals 8400 damage. And you've caught your opponent off guard with an OTK. Just that simple. But that's the Beetrooper deck profile for now, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, sub, and bell. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs. Raise your thumbs if you've enjoyed this one. Now let me take my cards to the box because I'm done. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.